Before beginning a BezoldEffect project, it's important to be really clear about the flip-flop. The flip-flop happens when it gets confusing and you end up changing more than one color. And even though that can be really cool and have a lot of interesting optical effects, especially based on the design and the color choice, it still might not affect the project in the way it should, named after Wilhelm Bezold, which is just changing one color. So before you even begin a thumbnail for the longer study, this is an exercise I want you to do just to rule out the flip-flop and kind of keep this in your mind the whole time you're working on your painting, because if you change your idea along the line or you forget basically this initial term, we're going to have this little mini thumbnail nearby so you can look and see as you go. So before you begin, this is just really a quick sketch. Just write on here, BezoldEffect. One of the big parts of color theory is learning terminology so that when you see these things in art or in any context out in the world, you'll have a name for it. It's a gradual building up of a visual vocabulary. That's something every artist needs to learn. In the first project, we dealt with color systems. We dealt with a color wheel. So you learn terms like 12-point wheel. You learn terms like split complementary. Terms like complementary, which is opposites. Primary triads. And we also did analogous. There's many other color schemes, but those were the first four that we handled. And we also talked a lot about design and problems, common problems. Even when you're doing a little sketch, you don't ever want to have, I can't say it enough, one thing smack dab in the middle and a bunch of empty random space around it. It's kind of a waste of paint when you have this empty space. So the design of any project has to have those factors: overlap, off the edge, repetition, clusters, range of sizes, range of shapes, but not too many to be disjointed, unity, harmony, balance. Things going off the top are really good because it breaks up the negative space. But anyway, I just want to get into this quick little sketch. You just make two little areas, and it could be vertical or horizontal. This would be something in preparation for the first thumbnail, which is going to be 7.5 by 5. Because you double 5, it's 10. You double 7.5, it's 15. Because you're splitting up a board, it's going to end up being 15 by 20, so it ends up being 10. And when you do your mini one, it's going to be that size. But basically, it's just to have a very, very estimated space. Within this space right now, you don't need to do accurate, complete symmetry. That's going to be saved for the actual project. You only really need to do one thumbnail because you're going to trace and transfer it when you do the two. Those are the thumbnails for the board. But this I want you to have next to you the whole time you're working on the project so that you can see the word Bezold and the technique. So that way you remember, no matter what changes happen, what has to happen. And then just put one. Because only one color can change in the whole thing from one side to the other. Everything else will be identical. So I'm just going to do like a little mountain going off the top. You know, I could have something over here. Remember, don't hit the edge. And then just loosely sketch up here Match as closely as you can. And then maybe I'll have like a road. Whatever. Okay. That's enough information for this. I might change little things later. But just in this little composition, you're going to take colored pencil or a marker, whatever you have around, and whatever you do here, do it here. You're going to limit your palette, and you can start here by thinking about how you might want to change hue, or what color systems you want to use. Repetition applies to color too. You want to repeat color value. I'm not going to use too many crazy colors because I don't want it to be tacky or rainbowish. And then it doesn't really matter here. I'm going to go back for another brown just because it looks better. This is, I just want you to see what's going on here. So you see how they're identical, completely identical. There's nothing in this that is different. Nothing. Anything you do here, you have to do here. The only difference is one thing changes. One color, that's it. You can't change green to red and then flip the sky blue to orange. You can't go green to red and then red to green. It convolutes the whole concept of BezoldEffect. So by having this little drawing here, it'll help you a lot. This doesn't mean that this is the one you're committing to for the permanent thumbnail, but let's say I make the sky here, and I'm making this darker because I really want to emphasize what I'm doing. This is the definition of BezoldEffect. And note that I'm also keeping my design balanced, varied, interesting, off the edges, repetition, move the eye, everything like that. So let's say blue. Now with these, if you have blue here and you decide that this is the area to change, you have to change an area that's at least a third of the surface. So I could do the road or the sky, but I'm doing the sky. People usually do the background. Kind of can't go wrong with that. Once you get this mini tree thumbnail sketch, and you have the word Bezold on there. I like how it's very light here. It breaks it up. Maybe here I would make it almost white, but not completely. But you can see, and even right on here, change only one area. The problem what people do is they have it down. It looks great, it's Bezold, and then all of a sudden they make this green and this yellow, which means they're now duplicating the BezoldEffect or flipping the color. So that's what we don't want to do. So just do this before anything else. Keep it on hand. Show me that you know what the concept's about, because it's the only project that you have to do this in. So that's a mini version of what the BezoldEffect is. And I will put this here. So just right on there, that is what it is. One area of color changes, boom. Nothing else at all. So do a little sketchy. Let me know that you know what the technique is before moving on.